Good morning, people. What's going on? Reno here. You know who I am already. Owner of the soon to be infamous, absolutely amazing, spectacular, superb, man, the list can go on, of Righteous Warriors comic. The owner of Righteous Warriors comic. Repping, of course, the new hat that I just got recently. If you want to if you want to cop one of these, you can go to the website and order it straight from zazzle.co.uk. You'll be taken to a link where you'll be able to cop one of these if you want to get one. But let's start with what the video is about, of course, which is the complete breakdown of Osei from Righteous Warriors. Let's get it. All right, cool. So what I'm going to do is I've got a massive summary here that I'm going to read out to you guys. And it's going to detail everything from when Osei was a child, how he got into becoming a samurai, what he went through during his military years, because he was in the military, and how he then, of course, leads up to, acquiring the Eye of the Universe, why he was in the mountains at the time. All of that's going to be explained in this little summary I've got here. So I'm going to start with also talking about Righteous Warriors as a whole as well. So I've got a nice little summary here of that. And it's going to give you a better idea of where I am going with the franchise, the comic, and of course the anime adaptation in the near future. So let's start. In a world run by crypto, okay, I've mentioned that before, a decentralized government, people's fates are decided by who owns the most cryptocurrency. So this is the world, okay, that we're starting with, that we're talking about here. The world of Righteous Warriors is run by cryptocurrency. All governments all around the world, every part of the land you can think of, is all run by cryptocurrency. There is no fiat currency anymore. It's completely a cashless society run by cryptocurrency, and whoever has the most cryptocurrency is the person who rules that land. Okay, so where was I? Yeah, so people's fates are decided by who owns the most cryptocurrency, a digital money asset that is obtained in the online/physical world. In the midst of this happening, strange creatures begin attacking humans in the world for an unknown purpose. Okay, that goes into that. I'm not going to explain that in this particular video, but I'll give you a very short summary on that. The reason why there's strange creatures in the world is because there are gods who were involved in a massive war millions of years ago, and they are coming here to the human world to take it over, basically. That will be explained. That is actually called the War of Zero, and that will be explained more in detail in another video, because this is about Osei. Okay, so let me go into a quick summary of it. So basically, Righteous Warriors is a warrior from the past who has to discover what his purpose is in this new world. Okay, I should say two warriors, excuse me. So I might need to change that. Two warriors who obviously are in a new world, and they have to discover what their purpose is and how they're going to fight the upcoming battles. So while the other warrior is trying to figure out how this new world links to his past, that's Osei, they both go on a journey to find out what a righteous warrior means and how it's connected to the drastic changes happening in the world. Okay, so if you've read my video breakdowns of my pages, you'll know that the swords, not just the swords, excuse me, the weapons all the weapons, because there's other weapons to be announced, but the only ones that have been announced so far is the ID Universe and the Divine Balance or World Balance. Both of those weapons say the exact same thing into people's minds. Righteous warrior, righteous warrior, seek out divine weapons. They both say the exact same thing. So they need to figure out how those words are connected to what's going on in this world and why it's so chaotic. Here's a quick disclaimer for you, and I'm glad I'm able to mention this because this is very important. Righteous Warriors is a purely fictional story. Okay, it's a completely fictional story. Okay, but it has real world references. Okay, as you go through the story and as I continue developing my pages and you'll see the anime and how the story develops, there will be loads of real world references, especially directed towards African and Caribbean culture. Okay, that's one thing that I want my story to really, really push is African history, African culture, Caribbean history, Caribbean culture. Whether that's enemies, abilities, power ups, story development, characters, personality, it is all going to be infused with African and Caribbean culture. Okay. Now, the actual whole story itself has been based around some Asian references as well. Like, the fact that, in the world, you've got this energy which is called ether. Okay, which of course relates back to Greek philosophy. I think it is with like ether and stuff like that. But ether is just basically like chi, like what you see in like Dragon Ball Z, or the whole idea of chakra energy in Naruto. It's a very similar thing, but it's called ether. Okay. That will be again explained in another video because that's a bit further down in the story. So that's not the purpose of this video here. So that's just to kind of give you a disclaimer that it's a fictional story, okay? Because I know I'm going to probably have some people saying, oh, what's going on here? What's going on here? Whatever. I'm like, look, it's a fictional story, okay? Yeah, let's just keep it that way. Right, moving on. So now we're on to the actual full breakdown of Osei here, okay? So, hear this now. Osei's name, okay, is inspired from an African warrior of the Ashanti Empire, Osei Kofu Tutu the First. Hopefully I said that right, okay? That will be his origins. He will have origins connected back to the Ashanti Empire. So this is what I'm saying to you about real world references, okay? The story itself will not have direct connections to the Ashanti Empire, not the Righteous Warriors story. But there are plans for me to write different stories which are going to be more directed towards African culture and, of course, Caribbean culture. But this particular story is going to just have references to those real world things, okay? So that's where his name comes from. Osei Kofu Tutu the First. You can Google him. An amazing king and kind of like an activist at the time for the Ashanti Empire. Now, we're going into his backstory now, all right? So pay attention. Osei grew up in a tough area of Jamaica, Trenchtown, okay? That's where he grew up, in Trenchtown, Jamaica. Same place where Bob Marley's from. While playing in the streets, he stumbled onto a wandering man in the street who was reading a particular book. Osei was intrigued by the book. Osei was so intrigued by the book that the man decided to let him have it. So he bumped into the guy. This again, I'll put this into a little filler episode at one point, but just so you get an idea of what his backstory is. Bumped into a guy. And he saw the book, so he's bumped into and he's dropped down. He's looking at the book and he's like, "Oh wow, that's interesting." The guy is moaning at him, saying, "Oh, why did you bump into me? You need to look where you're going, rare." But then Osei's eyes were so intrigued by this book that he was like, what you kind of like the book I'm reading?" So then we sat down with him for a little bit, started talking about what the book is and stuff. And this is why I'm about to tell you that the book was about the art of the samurai. So Ozzy was so intrigued by this that he decided to let him have it. So here's what I'm going to be continuing now with what I'm about to explain. So the book was about the art of the samurai, their way of life, and the weapons and style they used to defend themselves. So it was one of these kind of like samurai summary books with like their origins and how samurais kind of like the history of the samurai and what they do, what they how they defend their countries and them kind of things. There was a book like that. So he became obsessed with this and started using sticks to chop trees. Now Oze didn't have no like sword or anything like that, so he just looked at what the Japanese katana looked like, and he started getting sticks and he started practicing sword strikes on trees, yeah, in Trench Town. Okay. So he became so obsessed with this and he started using sticks to chop at trees. His friends thought he was weird and his parents tried to stop him, but he was addicted to it. Okay. So at this point, he's almost kind of completely changed his what I would just say. I wouldn't say personality, but he's become so focused on this that he's almost like a different person. Because before he would just be, messing around, playing out on the streets, being a normal kid in Jamaica. But then he became so obsessed with this idea of a samurai and chopping down trees and sticks that he just almost became like he's a new person. So his friends, like you said, thought it was weird. His parents were trying to tell him, why are you playing with sticks? Like, what's that? They were so confused as to why he's doing this. They were so perplexed, but they couldn't stop him. He was like, this is what I want to do with my life. Like he was almost literally deciding this is what I want to do with my life. Anyway, so friends tried to stop him, but he's addicted to it. Upon entering his teens, his parents wanted to try and send him to Japan to get official sword training, but this unfortunately failed. And the reason why this failed is because at the time of 1805, we're talking about a time period where wasn't exactly very popular for someone from overseas going, you know what I mean, to do sword training in that sense. Of course, you've got the Yasuke story, so don't get me wrong. It's not like it wasn't possible, but it just didn't work out for Osei to go over there, unfortunately, and become a samurai over there. So what happened instead is that his parents decided to send him to the military, and this is what I was going to tell you about before. So to get official sword training, but this unfortunately failed, and he was sent to the U.S. military instead. And the reason why he was sent to there is because his family said that the way how he was practicing sword fighting, maybe he could use it to defend his country. Well, not his country, but defend a country. So yeah, they sent him off to the US in that sense. So yeah. Moving on, during Osei's military years, he trained very hard as a soldier. So now we're going into, when he got sent to the US and like, what his experiences was like there, yeah? So during Osei's military years, he trained very hard as a soldier. He mastered all the requirements and rose through the ranks to become a general in the US Army. Right? So, that was a really good accomplishment for him. But here's the key thing. Now, this one I'm about to tell you here is what leads into becoming the person he is today. So pay attention to this. While the soldiers mainly use rifles and guns, because of course that's what the military do. Now, don't get me wrong. Of course, I know they have combat knives and they got hand-to-hand combat training. I get that. But his thing, of course, was to use katanas. He wanted to, train in sword training katanas. So this is what's going to lead into, him becoming the person he is today, right? So, but while soldiers mainly use rifles and guns as their primary weapon of use, he chose to use a Japanese katana as his weapon he dreamed of while he was a child. Of course, this goes back into his origin story. This led to limitations in his performance as a soldier, but he continued to practice with the sword. Okay, so to put that into context for you, He's in the military. He's gone over there and he's like, I need someone to train me in swords. Okay. I did. I am. I've. Yeah. I needed to add that there actually. I wonder if it's, oh, okay. Yeah. 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 So the way. Yeah. I've written this a bit weird, but yeah. You'll get what I mean anyway. So, he's gonna at some point get a trainer, to give him proper official training with using a sword, because at the moment he's been able to acquire a sword but he's hadn't had no like proper formal training yet, and this is leading into what brings him into the mindset that he's going to currently have in the present day. But anyway, you'll see as I explain it along. So one of his superiors recognized his potential and introduced him to a trained Japanese soldier. So at the minute, so what the US decided to do was that because they saw his potential and what he can do, they were like, right, you know what? All right, we'll get you some training. So they got someone from the Japanese army to come over to the US, yeah, and train Osei in swords. Okay, so yeah, so he teaches him swordsmanship. He became so good with the blade that he adapted a style similar to an assassin, and he was able to dodge bullets at point blank range. His accomplishments rewarded him the title of a general in the army, but not all of his superiors agreed with his accolades and plotted a scheme against him. So this is what I'm saying to you. This is leading to what we're talking about, right? So, so again, I'll put that into context for you. He's now been trained. He's getting training to be a swordsman, and he, instead of just being like a frontline soldier, he's been more used for like espionage, secret spy missions. But if he is put on the front lines, he can handle himself well. And this is the thing. So he was able to, defeat his enemies in, what I mean, in the different campaigns and wars that he would have gone through. And he was able to, fend off these soldiers who were shooting guns at him with a sword. And that's what makes his accomplishments so amazing. And this has, never been seen before of course, in the Righteous Warriors world. It's never been seen before in that sense, that a soldier who's been trained with guns, and, has had hand-to-hand combat training, all that kind of stuff, but focuses on using a sword. And he's able to accomplish his missions, effectively. So this is the key thing with Osei, and this is what leads up to what I said about people plotting against him, because people didn't like that. People didn't like the fact that who is this guy to come here, rise through our rankings, and use a sword to fend off enemies? That's unheard of and that's unrealistic. Why are you going into a gunfight with a sword? People didn't understand it, but he didn't care. And this is the thing, he did not care, right? But he was still able to accomplish his missions. And this is what made people so jealous of him. They couldn't stand it. They couldn't stand it. And this is what I'm talking about when it comes to scheming. So listen up, right? So not all of his superiors agreed with his accolades and plotted to scheme against him. He also was not a good leader and preferred to work solo, which added irritation to how some people felt about him, right? So he's like a lone soldier, right? Because remember, Eve mainly focuses on like espionage, and he was able to, kill the people he needed to kill through that. But to become a good leader is someone who, of course, works, with a team and is able to organize the team properly. He wasn't good at that. He was just a very good soldier. But because he was so good as a soldier, he got promoted, right? But even though he was promoted, he just wasn't a good leader in that sense. He was just a very good soldier. So going into his superiors, yeah. So hear this now. Those particular superiors decided to frame him by sending him on a separate mission from everyone else and assassinating a soldier while on a mission and pinned Osei to the crime. Okay, so these are the superiors who don't like the fact that he's rose through the rankings. He's kind of on the same level as these superiors, right, in the army, and they don't like it because they don't like the fact that he uses a sword in battle. That's unheard of and it's ridiculous. And he's not exactly a good person who leads well as well. So all of those factors, make him out to be this bad guy, and people aren't liking him from that. So where was we? So yeah, those particular superiors, yes, so framed him on a mission, framed him for the crime. Because he had no way of proving this, he was exiled from the military and was told to leave the country. Okay, that was a very hurtful experience for him, without a doubt. That was tough. You know, there's also a part of this, where I think I forgot to add it in this particular summary, but actually, you know what? I'm gonna save that. Yeah, I'm gonna save that. I'm not gonna reveal that, but something else happens to him, very tragic, that leads him into becoming the person he is today. But I'm hoping that this is giving you an idea about what happened to him. So he got plotted against. Stripped of his title as a general, got kicked out of the US Army, and got told to leave the country as well. All right. He then wandered around for a while until he settled in the mountains of Kyoto, Japan. So after he left the country, he didn't know what to do. He was lost for words. He didn't want to go home at the time to his parents, and he was just lost. Like it was being in the military and all of the accomplishments that he achieved was everything to him, and he just lost all that in a blink of an eye. And the fact he was hated upon, it was tough on him. He tried his best to be this strong soldier that or I guess a strong leader that everyone wanted him out to be, but everyone hated him, and then they plotted that crime against him. So this is what I mean, like he's gone through a lot. Yeah. So anyway, so moving on, there's more to that story, but I'm not gonna reveal that yet. Maybe for the Patreon users, you know what I mean? Anyway, so let's move on. Osei is a quiet man who has had a lot of events happen in his life. Of course, that we just spoke about. He doubts what it means to be a warrior. Okay, so remember, we're talking about he's just been exiled from the country. He decided to settle in Japan. Go over there kind of, as a bit like an immigrant over there. And just decided to just wander around Japan because, of course, he loves swords, isn't he? He loved the idea of a samurai. So where does he go? The first place where he feels connected to samurai life and samurai culture. However, he did not go to like the army or nothing like that because he's a bit he's because he's gone through a lot at this moment. He's not even thinking about working for people at the moment. He's just almost like a wandering soul. Unfortunately, he's a bit lost. So anyway, so he doubts what it means to be a warrior due to the world being cruel against him, like I just explained. Though he still can't avoid helping someone, although he has lost faith in the beliefs he had. So this is part of Osei's personality and character. Okay, he's the type of person who, at the moment, he's like, "Oh, I don't want to be a warrior. He's very doubtful of what it means to be a warrior at the moment. It's not something he wants to be currently because of what's happened to him. But he's still this person that deep down just can't not help someone that's in need. So if someone's being attacked or if someone needs help with something, even though he'll huff and puff and be like, oh man, he's still going to do it. And that is literally one of the key parts of his character. Where I got this from, if you've there's a Will Smith movie, all right, called Hancock, okay? And in Hancock, he was not your typical superhero. Hancock was this kind of almost a bit like a bit of a lazy guy who didn't really want to do much with his life, but he still got this kind of like almost like a flicker of interest in being a superhero, and he helps out people. But the way he does it, you'll have to watch the movie because it's been a long while since I've watched it. But the way how he does it is like, he's not one of these like symbols of like hope and peace. Yeah, that's basically the best way to say it. He's not Superman, but he was a character that certainly still wanted to help people. So he was still fulfilling his bare minimum requirement as a superhero, but he still was just a bit like, he had a little bit of like an arrogant asshole kind of character. So Osei's got a little bit of that in him in that sense. So, some people could look at him as a bit like an anti-hero, a bit like a Vegeta, for example, who may have done bad things in his life or is not exactly this super, happy-go-lucky character that we see in all anime kind of series, but he still likes to help people. So like I said, like a Vegeta, maybe a bit like a Sasuke from Naruto, and of course, like I said, a Hancock. So anyway, that's just to give you a bit of idea about Osei's personality and where he's kind of going in the story. Right. So, as I said, but he still can't avoid helping someone, although he's lost faith in the beliefs he once had. He feels the world is against him, but he still has little faith in wanting to help people, like I just explained. Once he saves people, he disappears quickly and does not build relationships as he does not trust people. Of course, he trusted the military. You know what I mean? They shot him in the foot. He only trusts himself due to people betraying him in his past, like I just said. So, he has made we're coming kind of to the end of the summary now. He has made some bad choices in his life, such as working as an assassin for hire to get revenge on people who are evil. Now, I didn't explain that. After wandering around as just, I guess, a wandering samurai, you can call him, in Japan, he decided to make a bad choice and work for underground mafias and become a assassin. Because remember, as a military guy, he was doing espionage. He was pretty much assassinating people. He was practically an assassin, even though he was a soldier, but he was more of a soldier who was a spy and dealing with espionage. So you can basically call him an assassin, even when he was in the US military. So now he decided, all right, cool, you know what? I'm gonna, go back into that kind of lifestyle, but I'm gonna just work purely as an assassin now, right? So this is one of the bad choices he's made in his life, right? So, so working as an assassin for hire to get revenge on people who are evil. So what he's done is that, he's only human, unfortunately, and because of all the traumatic past he's gone through with being exiled from the country and something else, which again I'm gonna reveal in another video, is, because of all these traumatic experiences, he said to himself, you know what, I'm gonna kill people who I deem evil. So again, we're talking about the bad choices that he's going to make as an anti-hero. So, he's saying to himself that to get revenge on people on what they did to me, I'm going to kill the people who do those things to others. So it's not like he's just killing random people, even though he's an assassin, he chooses his targets wisely, and he has to deem his targets as someone who is evil in the world. So he's trying to almost, be this kind of bad guy who takes out the bad people, right? I got this idea from what's his name again? Light from Death Note, who was kind of similar like that. So that's where the inspiration comes from. It's the idea of someone who feels he's a beacon of justice, but in his own way, because he feels that if he kills bad people in the world, then the world will be a better place. So Osei's got a bit of a similar characteristic there where he goes around and he kills people who are evil, but he won't take on missions for people who might be good people, for example. He won't take on those kind of assassination missions. They have to be people that are causing evil in the world. But then again, he can get manipulated with that too. So these are all of the more kind of bad things and bad choices that Osei makes. I do not want Osei to be a typical heroic type of character. He has not been made with that in mind. He is going to be a character that makes bad choices, but he grows into being a better person. Okay, so that is literally where his mindset, character development, and story is going to go. Okay. So he's literally the typical type of anti-hero. That's what I want him to be. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So hold on, I think so yeah. Right, hold on. So then let me read this again because sometimes, I go off point when I start talking. So he has made some bad choices in his life, such as working as an assassin for hire to get revenge on people who are evil. I told you that already. He sees them not what? Hold on. He sees them as not worthy and takes out his frustrations on them. Like what I just said, he wants to take out his frustrations on people who are evil. Although tormented by his past, he finds new reason to live once the eye of the universe comes to earth, calling out for him to be a righteous warrior. Okay, so this is leading into what you know already. He has no choice but to search for the meaning behind this. Okay. So one more last thing I will tell you. One more last thing I'll tell you about Osei is that he is bound to the sword. Okay, he is bound to that sword. He has tried to get rid of the sword before. So as soon as he's touched it, right? So what you've seen in, if you've read my pages, when he touched the sword and it opened up the portal and all that kind of stuff, from that point, he was bound to the sword. The sword has chosen him to be a righteous warrior. And even though he did not want to be a righteous warrior, he didn't care about that. But he is bound to the sword. So he had no choice but to continue finding out what a righteous warrior means and to look for these other kind of divine weapons. He had no choice because he's bound to that sword. I'll reveal that in another video again because I don't want to reveal too much. You know what I mean? We'll deal with that as things come along. But I've given you a good insight, I think, into his backstory, what he's about, where he's going, what kind of personality he has, the choices he's made in life. One thing I will tell you though is this, right? Righteous warriors. So one of the overall themes of righteous warriors, right, is the idea of what is good and bad. So righteous warriors is going to explore the ideas of characters making good and bad choices, but they can be questioned as to if those choices were good or bad for the story in hand. So what I mean by that is you could say, okay, Osei kills people as an assassin, right? But he wants to kill people who are evil. He doesn't want to kill anyone that is good. He wants to kill people who are evil. So what you could argue is, well, he's bad. You can even say on one side of the fence, you can say he's a terrible person because he shouldn't be killing anyone. Killing people is bad, right? But then on the flip side, on the other side of things, you can say, well, boy, if he didn't kill those people will end up killing even more people, So he's wheeling out a bad seed. So you can look at those two scenarios and you can agree or disagree. This is the overall theme for righteous warriors, okay? So that is one of the key important things. The characters are going to make choices which you are going to question, and you will have to analyze their characteristics, their personality, what their goals and missions are to kind of choose whether you deem them as bad or not. And that is one of the key things for righteous warriors, okay? in terms of when I was making this story. All right. So that's what I'm going to leave you with. I hope you've enjoyed this breakdown of Osei. There will be a breakdown of Makanda as well that I will do in the future. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed talking about it. It's my first time really breaking down, what I've written as a writer for Osei. So yeah, I hope you enjoy it, and you'll see a lot of the things that I've spoken about. You're going to see them coming into play as we enter into the present day of 2065, and seeing the world and the strange mythological creatures that have been sent down from the gods. The world run by cryptocurrency. You're going to see the people who lead in the world, in that world as well, and all of that's going to have real world references again, but it's a completely fictional story, so don't like match it up to like dates of people and stuff like that, like, you know what I mean. But you'll see what I mean once I reveal those characters. But don't try and match it up to where they might have lived in life and stuff like that. No, that's not what this is about. It's just real world references. It's a fictional story with real world references. And that's the key thing I want to keep pointing out. So yeah, that's pretty much it, people. So yeah, I've obviously done this on New Year's Eve. So have a lovely New Year's, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out. Stay righteous, people. That's going to be the new slogan for 2023. Stay righteous. Yeah, you know what I mean? Support the cause as well, Donation, www.anniebeats.co.uk/donation. I need donations, please, people. I spent a ton of money making my pages already, doing the anime trailer, to give you guys what is to come. You know what I mean? Like, what is to come, because Righteous Words is already a massive story. I have got a character list of well over 30 characters, okay? And I've only told you 3. Osei, Makanda, and Amina, yeah? But I've got a list of tons of characters. There is a image that I've got on my Instagram, of a few of like the characters that are going to be in there, but I haven't revealed who they are or what they're doing or whatever. But I've got a big list of characters. Okay, Righteous Words is a big story already, so I'm going to need your support to continue developing pages. You know what I mean? Because I've sunk a lot of money to this already, and I need your support, guys. So that's all I'm going to say. You will hear me say that again. 2023 is the year of, advertising. So, yeah, support me, buy the merchandise, for example, go to the page, donate, I'll have Patreon, Kickstarter, these crowdfunding things. I'm going to be getting these all set up pretty soon. So you'll see more announcements about that. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the story, really. And yeah, enjoy your New Year's and everything. And I will see you in the next video. Peace.